Hello, hello, I'm Ceridwen from Brewcats Gaming, and today I'll be wrapping up my Scarlet Hollow experience with a review of the game so far. Yes, no more awful acting voiceovers, don't all cheer at once, you absolute horrors. Scarlet Hollow is an atmospheric horror mystery visual novel game from small indie studio Black Tabby Games. You play as a member of the Scarlet family who has little idea about their family history, let alone any family members save for their own recently deceased mother. Invited by your cousin Tabitha Scarlet to attend the funeral of your aunt Pearl Ann Scarlet, you will stay at the crumbling Scarlet mansion, and you have 1 week to figure out just who your family really is, and maybe hopefully save the town of Scarlet Hollow from decades of family trauma. You might even find a significant other. Starting the game, you pick your name, gender, and where you live. You then have 2 choices to make from 7 traits. Traits are used for fleshing out your character, for specific dialogue and reactions, and just once in the game, and in the right chapter, they can be used like a successful saving throw. Hello D&D fans. These traits are powerful build, keen eye, street smart, book smart, talk to animals, mystical, and hot. If you're playing a hardcore run, you'll pick 3 traits, but I don't recommend hardcore for the first time you play, as it comes with a big caveat in that you can't make that successful saving throw at all and must let the Chaos Gods take over, which to be fair is its own kind of fun. I've been playing Scarlet Hollow off and on since the first chapter released in 2020, and I have to say I absolutely love the artwork. It's so beautiful and genuinely unlike anything I've seen in other visual novel games. I really recommend taking the time to examine the backgrounds and the composition of the scenes as you get insight into the characters and the goings on of the town. The artist is the Ignatz Award-winning Abby Howard, who along with husband Tony Howard Arias started up Black Tabby Games, and Scarlet Hollow is their first game, and Slay the Princess, which some of you may know, is the second. I find Scarlet Hollow's player choices to be impressive, and in no small way. The devs recognised that simple good or bad binary dialogue ultimately did not feel meaningful or true for this game. So for the player who actually wants to create an impact upon the game's world state or non-player characters, the main character's lines hold a greater and more intricate effect behind the scenes thanks to an additional 10 characteristics. When interacting with an NPC, your dialogue can score additional points on the NPC's hidden scale. Therefore, is the player character being reliable or unreliable, bold or passive, open or closed, agreeable or adversarial, insightful or dull? You might figure out what the NPC thinks from how they react and from what they say, or indeed from their body language. So on the surface you may only have 2 traits in addition to other potential dialogue branches, but thanks to those 10 hidden variables, everything you say can and will have an effect on how your character is perceived and interacted with by the NPCs and the world state. You are not limited by those 2 traits so much as you are invited to explore further and round out your character with them. Your Scarlet Hollow experience really does expand upon repeated playthroughs with different trait combinations. The story reveals itself in greater depth, and player understanding is all the better for it. For what it's worth, my favourite is currently book smart and hot. Yes, a good looking nerd makes me happy. I also love the juxtaposition between the cosy vibes I get from the simple things, such as the biscuit and coffee at the diner in chapter 1 for example, and the absolute horror that exists just a few hours later and in the days to come. I won't lie, there is some truly graphic artwork in some scenes which I did not expect going in, even when I knew it was going to be there in some form. It is a horror game after all, but it's still amazing artwork, albeit rather grim, so heads up. There's a bunch of other topics which might also be found triggering to some players, but Black Tabby Games have a content warning page for where you can see what you might expect in each Scarlet Hollow chapter, link in the description for that. It's good to know there are devs who care about such things, but I wouldn't expect anything less, as my impression is this game is inclusive and thoughtful in its approach. In general, I have enjoyed this game. No game is perfect, however, so it is worth talking about what could be perceived as a big negative. So whilst Scarlet Hollow is a delightful gem, it has been available in an incomplete form since 2020 and technically is not fully released. You can indeed play the entire first chapter for free, but to play all currently released chapters, and at time of recording that's chapters 1 to 4, you would have to buy the game at full price and wait for chapters 5, 6 and 7. This may not feel particularly enticing to some potential players, but there is some good news here. Firstly, since the early chapters got some extensive rewrites and were altered in the 2025 Roads Untravelled update, you get so much more choice, so much more game than was originally written, and it really makes for a meaningful, coherent experience. Secondly, the 5th chapter is coming out on Friday the 13th this month, that's February 2026. Then chapters 6 and 7 are set to follow at a later as yet unconfirmed date, but they will be a combined release. This means 6 and 7 released at the same time, therefore just one more major release to go after the Friday the 13th chapter 5 update. Of course, it's still worth knowing if you don't have the game yet that you will have some more time to wait until it's fully out, so you must do what you feel is right, of course. That said, if you do go on and pick it up now, it will update when those chapters release, no extra purchase or fuss needed. I really do recommend this to anyone who enjoys horror and mysteries, be they books, films, other games or television, or to anyone who ever enjoyed a choose your own adventure or fighting fantasy book, or to people who enjoy comics and taking time to really look at the artwork, and then also to anyone who ever wanted more player character agency in a game. However, I can't recommend it for anyone who prefers to skip dialogue in games, as it's dialogue intensive. And then I can't recommend it for anyone under 18 due to the graphic horror and a variety of potential situations that can arise. But as with anything, mileages may vary. And again, there's a link for the game's content warning page in the description of this video. So that's it. I'll now be moving on to take a look at a different visual novel, although I expect to return to Scarlet Hollow when the final chapters are released. All relevant information on Scarlet Hollow, where to buy it, etc., can be found in the description. Thanks so much to everyone for watching, especially if you got to the end. Please like it if you like it, share it if you want to, and most importantly, subscribe for all future videos. I'm off to get a brew in, so take care everyone and have a great day. Goodbye!